So this week's topic of Emunah Mondays, the title was Preserving the Innocence. And before we begin, this class was dedicated to multiple people this week, and the names are the following. It's in honor of Refuah Shalema for Yaakov Tzvi Ben Leah, as well as a mother and a newborn who are both having health issues, and their names are Rina Bas Simi and Tinok Ben Rina, and as well as a Le'ule Nishma for Harav Yitzchak Chaim Ben Nisim Ezra. May his neshama have an ultimate aliyah, as well as a Refuah Shalema and only good news for Chaim Mordechai Ben Chaya. So, let's have those names in mind. I'll repeat them again at the end of the class. So, this week's topic was, I chose it because I really found it mind-boggling, because I read a story about the Baal Shem Tov, and then from the story I also took a lesson out of it, but yet the lesson is so lost in this day and age. And I was like, you know what, I really feel like we should bring it back and give it the right attention it deserves. So it's as follows. There's a Baal Shem Tov story where the Baal Shem Tov was learning, and one day he was he was mind-boggled as to how it's possible to keep the Shabbat perfectly, because there's a lot of logistics and technicalities when it comes to Shabbat. So he was struggling with it, and in the process of it, again, the Baal Shem Tov was a very, very, very spiritual person, and he had nevuah which is he had visions into the next world as well, and he had communications with higher ups. And one of the people was Elijah the prophet, as well as another very holy source. So in this story, I believe it was Elijah the prophet, and he's in communications with him, and he's really struggling, and he couldn't even continue his regular day-to-day things. So Elijah the prophet came to him and to help him out and be like, what's wrong? And the Baal Shem Tov stressed to him how he's struggling with understanding how to keep the Shabbat perfectly. And he's asking, he's like, what's the reward for keeping the Shabbat perfectly? So Elijah the prophet acknowledged this, and he saw it was extremely aching on the Baal Shem Tov. So he decided to show him where no eyes have ever seen. And it was a spot in Olam Haba for the people or the person that keep Shabbat perfectly. And it states the Baal Shem Tov saw 2 golden thrones in a corner. And the Baal Shem Tov questions it. He says, why are there only 2 thrones? And he says, one's for you if you continue on the path that you're on, and another one's for a person that's going to help you get to that path. And the Baal Shem Tov was still stunned at it. He's like, how? I still don't understand how one can even keep the whole entire Shabbat. How do you even get a spot there? So he's asking if he can show him the person that's going to get him to that spot. And Eliyahu Navi decides, you know what, all right, I'll show you. So he goes ahead and tracks him, and he's trekking this long, extremely long journey. It states the world was actually confiding under the strides of the horse. That's how, and it still took an extreme amount of distance. And he finally gets to this thing right before Shabbat, and he stops. And he figures, okay, this has to be the person, because this is where the horse took me. And he knocks on the door. It's just your everyday, typical guy. He's like, all right, there must be a reason I'm here. So he goes and tells him, hey, I'm on a journey, this and that. Do you mind if I spend the weekend by you? No problem. The guy says, no problem, this and that. First thing the Baal Shem Tov realizes, is this guy is not religious. He doesn't even appear to be Jewish. The food is not kosher. So it states the Baal Shem Tov was actually this guy wasn't praying, no minyan, no nothing like that. And he's just so confused as to, he asked Eliyahu Navi to show him the person that keeps the Shabbat perfectly and has that second seat. And here he is in front of a person that doesn't even appear to be Jewish. And it states they got so bad that the Baal Shem Tov actually, all he ate while at this guy's house was the little bread that he brought with him. And this was becoming like the worst Shabbat the Baal Shem Tov ever experienced, and he couldn't wait for Shabbat to end. Nevertheless, Saturday day comes, and all of a sudden the guy's throwing a big party. The Baal Shem Tov wakes up to music, to celebrating music, smoking. It states like everything you're not supposed to do on Shabbat, this guy was doing, but like on a community level. So Baal Shem Tov couldn't wait. He's counting down the minutes before Shabbat's over. All of a sudden, he's already pre-packed. Shabbat ends. He goes, he's ready. He just wants to go and thank the host. Thank you so much for your time. And he said, I couldn't help but notice, what was that party that you threw? And then the guy goes ahead and explains it. And he states that the party was, he's actually an orphan. Both his parents were killed at a very young age. And then he was orphaned to a not Jewish family, but his family was Jewish. He said, but he only remembers, the only memory he has of his parents was that on Saturday day they would throw a big party. They would have a bunch of guests come. The Baal Shem Tov immediately tries to educate him and stress on the fact that it's not a party, it's actually a Shabbat. And right when he went to open his mouth, it states that Hashem, he felt like there was a foot on his tongue. He found himself unable to speak. And he understood that was like a moment that he wasn't meant to talk. So he bit his tongue, he didn't say anything, he wished the guy thank you so much, this and that, and he left. And then Elijah the prophet confronts him, and Baal Shem Tov says, why was I unable to speak? Like, that was just so bizarre. I wasn't able to speak. And what kind of Shabbat was that? And Elijah the prophet explains that if Baal Shem Tov would have spoke to him and educated him on what Shabbat really is, that guy actually would have lost his spot to Olam Haba, that special seat. Because the truth is, he was so innocently keeping the Shabbat to the best possible way that he can. He was orphaned. He had no experience with Judaism whatsoever, no experience with Shabbat, but he just remembers Saturday day his parents threw a party, so he makes sure to throw a party every single week. And there's a massive, massive lesson to this, I feel. And that is the beauty of innocence. There's no need to go ahead and do kiruv, do outreach, and bring them and educate them. Like that, by educating him, you're taking away the beauty and the power of so much innocence that comes with it. There's so much beauty in not knowing and just doing. He's doing it wholeheartedly. He's doing what he feels. Whether it's right or wrong, obviously you should have kosher meal. You should have this. But the fact is, he's doing the little that he's doing is valued at more than the quality of than the quantity of others that are doing with less. So it's like quantity doesn't have to be more, it should not be priority over quality. Quality should come first, then quantity. And I feel like this day and age, it's so lost to the point where they don't even have hope. People don't even have hope in the quality aspect, so they just stress on the quantity. How many people can I get to put on tefillin? How many this? How many that? Everything's a number. How many people can I get to come to my class? How many people this? As opposed to having people, I'd rather have 5 people come to my class and actually sit there and want to learn than just get 20 people as just fillers just to make the class look good. You know? And it's like, it's sad. It's really sad. And there's so much beauty on, you don't have to go ahead and educate, force people down their throat. Oh, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do... Don't even bother, because through asking, you're putting pressure. And through pressure, there's no innocence anymore. He's not doing it because he wants to. He's honestly doing it because it's just, at this point, it's more convenient for him to wrap the tefillin or to do this or pray just to have you stop nagging him than to actually do it. And that borderline creates resentment. So my thing is, lead by example. Do. Quality. Just by doing. You don't have, I'm not saying, like a shliach is a messenger. A messenger should be a role model. You should go, keep Shabbat, pray. It states the Baal Shem Tov rarely would go into shul and pray. He would actually hold minyans out. He would pray outside, and in doing so, people would be attracted to join his minyan. He wouldn't ask, he wouldn't beg people, oh, I need a 10th guy, I need this. No, he would just do, and it would naturally come. And that's where do your part and allow Hashem to come in. Because again, if it's true and it's real, you don't have to force it. The Torah is real. everything's going to fall into place just the way it's supposed to be. It's going to naturally attract people. And that's what I'm a big fan of, and that's the message I wanted to give off in this week. So again, the names for this week were Refuah Shalema for Yaakov, Tzvi ben Leah. A mother and newborn who are having health issues is Rina Bas Simi and Tinok ben Rina, as well as a Leune Nishmat for Harav Yitzchak Chaim ben Nasim Ezra. May his neshama have an ultimate aliyah, as well as a Refuah Shalema and only good news for Chaim Mordechai ben Chaya. Hope to see you guys next week. Thank you.